Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll give it a few minutes just in case a few more people are joining. I'm just wondering, are y'all able to unmute yourselves?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. We'll have questions
Yes.
later, I'm sure, but I didn't remember how I had done the settings, so I wanted y'all to be able to unmute.
Do you want us to be on video or have that off?
It's up to you. You can do either one.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
It's more fun to see people.
Yeah, I guess you know what you wanted, so that's good.
No, that's good. It's fun to see people's faces. Kind of weird to talk to just a screen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw her smiling and I thought, does she see anybody?
I don't think there were any cameras on before, but now I see some, so that's better. But I knew y'all were there, so. Okay. I'm gonna share the screen. Can y'all see that?
Not yet.
Okay. Can y'all see it now?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
great,
Yes.
great, great. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this. I know it's a time-consuming thing, but hopefully there will be benefit for everybody. So I'm excited to do this study. It's been the topic that I had in mind the whole time since I've been in school, and just took a little formulating to figure out exactly how to do it. So I'm really appreciative to all of you and excited to get started. And just a couple of we'll start with a connection, since that is the most important part of all of this. So we'll start with, and if anybody joins in, hopefully they'll just join in with us. But we'll start with connecting inward. So you are welcome to have your camera on. You're welcome to turn it off. Whatever you want is fine. But if you can mute yourself, then that's good until you're ready to ask a question. And definitely unmute and say something if there's something wrong with my audio or with the video. If something happens that I'm not aware of, please let me know. But until then, just unmute. And we'll start with connecting inward just for a few minutes. We'll breathe a little bit. We'll get into a connected state, and then I'll begin the presentation, and then we'll have a meditation, and then we'll end with questions. So just start to connect with your breath without trying to change it. And give your body permission to relax. Give your mind permission to relax. And remind yourself that this is intended to be fun, an exploration. And bring the awareness back to the breath if it starts to wander. And bring your awareness inwardly if you can, in the heart or in the belly or in the point between the eyebrows. But if you have access to hang out in the heart, bring your awareness there. And we'll intend to connect inwardly to all the parts of ourself, our physical self, our mental self, our energetic self, all the parts of us that are useful to us, and all of the non-physical assistance available to us of infinite and unconditional love, infinite intelligence, infinite empowerment. We'll intend to be in a connected state with ourself and all that is useful to us. To guide us and assist us through this journey, the journey of this study, the journey of our lives. To help us to connect, truly connect with the energetic aspects of ourselves, and to uncover truths about it and see what can happen, see what the potential is. And how it can benefit us and the people that are in our lives. And take a couple more breaths. Giving gratitude as though that has already happened, as if it has already happened. And start to come back to your outer awareness. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay. So just a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't yet, the September monthly check-in is a Google form. And so that's in the welcome email. And then the more recent email that went out about closing out September and starting October with this Zoom link in it. So it's just a few questions reflecting on the month. And so if you haven't sent that in, send that in, and then print out your daily tracker if you're using that, to track October daily experiences. That way you'll have that to fill out at the end of October, the monthly check-in again. So we'll do a monthly check-in every month. And then compare all of that at the end. There will be a little bit of a change with how we do the recordings, because the types of meditation that we're going to be doing, I didn't find out until yesterday, but they have already been recorded and they're very well done and they're professional and the sound quality is great. So I want to use those. But I can't post it anywhere. I can't record it and share it because it's not mine. So I have my own version, but it's not as good. The audio is just not as good. It's not professional. So I can post that on the YouTube channel like we originally planned, but I really, I think the one that's been professionally done is better. So I'm going to send out the link. It's only $9.95 for all. I think there's 5 or 6 meditations that progress. So I'm going to send the link out to that for the MP3 or the CD. I recommend buying that. That way you can download it onto your device. Each one's like 12 or 13 minutes. And so we're going to build upon those as we go through this study, but then you can easily access it whenever you want to do your daily practices. So I will probably still post my version on the YouTube channel, but it's certainly worth the $10 to get the professionally done one. So when we get to that point where we're going to do the meditation, I'm going to pause the recording because I can't record it. And then I'll re-record once we finish it. And I'll send you the link to his recording. And then I'll still post mine, but highly recommend his over mine. Then any questions at this point before we start the presentation? Okay. All right, so we're just gonna do like 20 slides and we'll do some more next time. And then for any burning questions, just pause me. But this topic is quantum entanglement in human relationships. And we'll do a little bit of the quantum science today, but we'll do more of it next time. I kind of wanted to do an overview this time and get more into detail with the quantum science stuff next time. So human relationships certainly fall into the category of energetic and non-matter. Relationships consist of a relational field, and there's been some research done on this between couple relationships and also the relational field that happens in the therapy room. And all of that's very interesting. And I can share more about that. It's not gonna be real heavy on research in here, but if anybody has any questions, I can share that with you. So the goal of this study is how can this relational field be influenced in a positive way? And one important part is that we have 2 different types of existence. We have a physical body and we have an energy body. And our physical body is made of more densely packed particles. It has significant mass, therefore it has a gravitational field. And it falls under that category of Newtonian physics. It's predictable. Whereas our energetic body is made of mostly light or energy. It has very little mass. It does not have a gravitational field. It's not under the same laws of physics as mass and matter. It's not as predictable. And there is an intersection between these physical and these energetic bodies that we have. Nerve impulses, neurotransmitters, hormones, gland secretions, saliva, sexual fluids, thoughts, feelings, sensations. All of these are intersections between the physical and the energetic. So we are simultaneously operating in both realms at the same time. And this is an interesting symbol from Egyptian spirituality. Some people call it the Egyptian cross. It's called the Ankh.
Allison,
Yes.
are you moving the slides? I'm not seeing. Is anybody
Oh,
else
you're not
that?
seeing? Yes, I'm moving them, but you don't see them? You don't see
Okay,
them?
no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's just the
Mhm.
title page right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe if you, yeah, okay, there.
what do you see
Maybe
now?
if you, the Ankh.
Okay. But then
Yeah.
I go into present mode and you don't see that.
Try it again, and then see the two arrows at the bottom where they're like it gives you the option to make it larger. Oh, sorry. Oh no, I guess not.
So when I go into
Huh.
present mode,
When you went into present mode, it brought up the symbol, but we didn't see any of the previous ones.
oh, okay.
Hmm. Maybe try it again from the beginning and see.
Yeah.
Just
Is that
and
better?
then click again. No, we don't see any.
Ah. Okay.
Hmm.
The bottom, it said 1 out of 65 or something, like you could arrow over. Did you
Okay.
notice that?
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna download it onto my
It was-
computer and get off the internet. I think I've had to do this before with Canva. Okay, how about this? Do y'all see them changing? No? Oh,
It might be that you need to change the viewing options. It might
Okay.
be that it's like it's on one screen, but now
Yeah.
you need to,
yeah.
yeah. Now we see it.
You see them changing now?
Hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, thank y'all. Okay, so I'll just run through them again. And I said this, but relationships fall into the category of non-matter because of the relational field. The difference between the physical body and the energy body. The intersection between physical and energy bodies, nerve impulses, neurotransmitters, hormones, gland secretions, saliva, sexual fluids, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and the ankh. So breaking down the symbolism of this, the cross represents matter or the body. The loop at the top represents spirit or consciousness, and the knot represents the intersection of consciousness and matter through the breath. So, to the ancient Egyptians, consciousness embodying itself into human life was what this represented. The intersection of mind, body, energy, emotions, intuitions. So, the difference between a simple hierarchy versus a tangled hierarchy, like the image on the left is a mom talking to her child. I'm the mama. I know better than you. I'm older than you. You have to listen to me. I'm the boss. Whereas the image on the right is two hands. One's drawing the other, and the other is drawing the first. And so there, it's a co-creation. It's a self-referential loop. Both are involved. And so another perspective is that someone drew this image of the two hands drawing each other. So it's a multi-layered perspective, but the whole point is that a tangled hierarchy or a quantum entanglement, it's a loop where both are involved and both are participating. It's not from one to the other. One's the giver and the other is the receiver. And we'll circle back to that in different ways at different times. So living in two realities simultaneously means there's two laws of physics that we are subjected to. Newtonian physics is about gravity, acceleration. All these things are very predictable. If you know the weight of something and the height from which it is dropped, you can determine how long it takes to hit the ground. Mass, weight, volume, all of this is, there's calculations, there's formulas, it's all very straightforward, whereas quantum physics is not. It's still science, and there's still studies, and there's still data on this. It's just revealing very different sets of laws. And we'll go into some of this in more depth next time that we meet, but the wave particle duality, where a particle can function or behave as a wave and as a particle. Relativity, where time and space are not absolute. It's relative. Superimposition, where a particle can exist as in two different states at one time, until it's observed, and then it can only be observed in one of those states. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle, where you can't know the position and the speed of a particle at the same time, and quantum entanglement, which is what this is all about. So what determines whether we are in Newtonian versus quantum? If it is greater than 1,000th of an inch, larger objects have a gravitational field, and they're subject to Newtonian laws of physics. And if they're smaller than 1,000th of an inch, then they're very tiny, they're atomic and subatomic, and they are not bound by Newtonian laws. So what we're going to be dealing with in these meditations is the subtle body. It's mostly light or energy. It has very little mass. And this is referenced to in Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Judaism, Egyptian spirituality, Christianity. And there's different layers of how dense or how energetic something is. So the physical body, of course, is the most dense. It's the most structured. It has cells, organs, it has body systems. The vital or emotional body is the chakras, the meridians, our experience of emotions or feelings. The mental body is a little bit more subtle in its thoughts, habit patterns, brain circuits. Then intuition is even more subtle. It's more archetypal. It's meaning, intuitive. And consciousness is as most, it's most energetic of all of this. It's pure consciousness. It's the foundation of being or existence. So the quantum and the Newtonian meet in the mind. There are synapses between the nerve cells, and these gaps are approximately 1,000th of an inch wide. So each neurotransmitter passage is a quantum event. Neurotransmitters that make that leap influence a response in the next neuron, and this hurdle jumping in the neocortex results in a thought. Cells, quantum happenings are in the cells as well. Through our mental attention, we're affecting our physiology. Our body and our mind are interconnected. Quantum activity has been noted in cell membranes and in cytoplasm. Hamerhoff is that's his last name, Stewart or Stephen is the first name, but Hamerhoff is the last name, and he has a ton of research out there on quantum activity in the microtubules of the brain. It's very interesting. He's an anesthesiologist, so he's looked at the brain under anesthesia, under psychedelics, under SSRIs, and he's looking at the quantum coherence that happens, and he believes that it's because of this coherence that's happening due to quantum activity in the microtubules. So just a little glance at terms in Newtonian physics versus quantum physics. So Newtonian is the laws of matter, quantum is the laws of non-matter. Newtonian is within space and time, quantum is outside of space and time. Newtonian is very deterministic and predictable, whereas quantum is synchronistic. Newtonian is local connection. I'm making a message from me to you. It's that simple hierarchy of mom telling kid, I'm the mom, you're the kid, you have to listen to me. I'm giving you a message. Whereas non-local is it's an energetic connection. It's not based on signals or messages. In Newtonian physics, it's based on linear or continuous progress, whereas in the quantum physics, it's discontinuous. It does not travel through time and space. In Newtonian, they call it a simple hierarchy. Quantum, it's a tangled hierarchy. Newtonian, there is separate, things are separate, whereas in quantum, the idea is like a unity consciousness, where everything is somehow interconnected. In Newtonian, it's upward causation, where tiny particles make atoms and molecules, and larger systems creating organs, creating organ systems, creating the body, which creates feelings, emotions, consciousness. Whereas downward causation is that consciousness creates these things, from there downward, not the other way around, not matter creating consciousness, but consciousness responsible for matter. And in the Newtonian world, it's very much about the matter or the particle, whereas in quantum physics, the behavior is more like a wave. And we just did the downward causation versus upward causation. But in upward causation, there's elementary particles that build to atoms, building to molecules, building cells, building a brain, which creates consciousness. That's, a materialistic science is going to look at it that way. Whereas if you're looking at it from a quantum perspective, it's the higher, more subtle forms of reality can influence the denser aspects of reality. So back to the Ankh and the breath work, pranayama, any sort of breath work can be used to activate vital energies in the energy body. And then your awareness of this activation is important. And then your movement, your intention to move the vital energies. And once you notice it and you have an experience with it, this becomes more integrated into your physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual experiences. And then this increases the magnetism. So there's people that talk about the self being like a transmitter, transmitting information, receiving information, because if we're energetic, that's constantly happening. And the more you connect with this, the more magnetic you become. And so the idea of alchemy comes into this sort of work. So alchemy refers to the medieval practices of the transmutation of matter. So it was in medieval times, it was people trying to change lead into gold, a useless material into a very useful material. But in psychology or in inner alchemy, this alchemy that was practiced is an analogy for more of an inner transformation. And relationships can certainly be alchemical as well. And so when we're talking about inner alchemy, there's three things that are needed. There's a container. And so when we're talking about inner alchemy, our container is our mental awareness. And so we're going to be using these in these meditation practices. Our mental awareness is going to be our container that we work within. And then you have to have a material to transform, which is your thoughts, your experiences, your awareness. Well, your awareness is the container, but whatever you put in there, whatever you focus your attention on is in the container. And then you need a source of energy, which there's an endless source of energy available to fuel this inner alchemy. So an example is a cup of tea. The cup is the container. The substance that's going to be transformed is the water. And the energy source is heat. So if you take a cup of hot tea versus cold tea, a tea that's cooled down already, it's not hot anymore, you can't look at it and tell a difference visually, but it's very different. there's a difference between the molecules of hot versus cold tea. And everything in the physical world is an effect of the subtle world. So the molecules in a hot tea are moving really, really fast. There's lots of activity. The heat activates everything. And so when we're doing these meditations, the energy is going to activate within us, and it's going to, it can bring up stuff. It can resolve things. It can heal things. It can bring up stuff to be resolved and to heal. But heat is something that's used in this analogy a lot. There's lots of books written about inner alchemy. Jungian work references this a lot. So this is a quote from Tom Kenyon, and he is the author of the meditations that we're going to use. He's a psychotherapist, he's an author, he's a musician. And so his recordings are really good. They're professionally done. But this quote I like: internal alchemy and its mastery brings non-ordinary abilities or powers of consciousness called siddhis. So other places call these things like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairgnosis. The ability to have like an inner seeing, an inner hearing, an inner knowing, or intuition, you could call it as well. And so when someone is activating these energies within them, and they're becoming more magnetic, and they're becoming more, their energy body is more integrated into their experience, these abilities become more natural, and more a part of their everyday experience. So the physical and the subtle substances that get transformed are hormones, neurotransmitters, saliva, sexual fluids. There's many quantum aspects not yet detected or studied. These are referenced in lots of different traditions. It's called Qi in Taoism. It's called Prana in Yogi traditions. It's called winds in Tibetan traditions, and Neters in the Egyptian traditions. And so the meditation that we're going to do today is this is coming from Egyptian Egyptian technologies, Egyptian spirituality. And it's but you can see it, you can see it in all the meditation techniques. If you've practiced Joe Dispenza's methods, this is happening. Paramahansa Yogananda, this is happening. The Christian saints have reported very similar experiences. It's in everything that I've looked at. This is what's happening. So the terminology is, I'm just saying it because some of the meditations are going to use these words. But don't get hung up on that, because all the spiritual traditions use this. They just use different words to describe it. But this one says it's called raising the Dijed. And this is the Dijed is the central pathway along the spine. It's an energetic pathway. It's not the spine itself, but it's the energy movement that happens moving up the spine. It's energetic, and it includes the major energy centers that some call chakras. And the activation of this pathway and the centers along the way awakens dormant aspects of consciousness within you. And so another word that they might use in these meditations is sekhem. And that just means energy, life force, chi, vital energies. And in the Egyptian pictures, this is depicted as a serpent, and it's metaphorical. So it's not, don't get caught up on if you don't like snakes. It's not about snakes. It's just that they use this as a metaphorical example, because the life force moving up the central channel has a serpentine-like structure. It undulates, it moves back and forth. It's like a wave-like motion, swaying from one side back to the opposite side. So you could, if you don't like snakes, you could think of it as like a ribbon of energy, just a ribbon of energy moving back and forth like that. You have to use whatever works for you. Whenever this life force reaches the head, it also spreads out across both sides of the brain, both hemispheres of the brain. And so that's why a lot of times it looks like a cobra's hood. That's why they use a cobra, not just any snake. But again, it's not about snakes. It's about what the energy does. And so when you're practicing these meditations, you might feel a sensation like once you move the energy up to the top of the head, it might feel like it's spreading over your head. And lots of people report that. Lots of people feel that sort of feeling. And you might become more in tune to subtle sensations within you as you do these practices. And you may feel nothing. And if you feel nothing, it doesn't mean that it's not that you're not doing it right or that things aren't happening. You just may not have an awareness or a sensation of it. And that is totally fine as well. So basically, we're just becoming familiar with the sensation of subtle energy or of vital energy, life force, whatever you want to call it, moving up the central channel. So that's the end of the slides that we're going to do today. I'll play the meditation for us to do together. It's about 12 or 13 minutes long, but we can pause here and ask questions if anybody has any before we start the meditation. And we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions as well. But anything right now?
I'm just curious about the cities. I know them through Gene Keys. We don't need to talk about it right now, but yeah, is that, did you look into that too?
Into the cities?
Yeah, that Tom Kenyon. Anyway, I would love to know where that quote comes from too.
Yes. So that he talks about in his book. I'm going back to that. I must have passed it up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, so this comes from his book called The Magdalene Manuscript.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I have it.
And oh, you do? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
but there's other sources too. There's other Hinduism talks a lot about this. There's a lot of Indian gurus who if Paramahansa Yogananda was like probably the most popular in the US, and he wrote a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, and it's
Mm-hmm.
popular, and that it's like an autobiography of his life. So it's not necessarily informational in nature, but it's a nice story, and he references a lot of these things. So he talks about how things are in India and with the Indian gurus and the abilities that a lot of them had, that becomes more natural with practices of these sort of things.
Okay.
But all of those traditions, in the Christian traditions, there's like Saint Francis of Assisi would levitate at the altar, and so it doesn't. I think probably any tradition that you would look at, you could find this examples of it and methods
Mm-hmm.
that you can practice, that are maybe similar to what we're going to do, but different, maybe different language, different methods, and but for the same goals.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions before we start? Right. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording. Figure that out. It's about 13 minutes long.
Slowly and close your eyes. Be aware of your breath, not changing it in any way. Just being aware of the inhales and the exhales. Letting each inhale be long, slow, and comfortable.
Okay, so any questions about that? So
That felt really good.
what's that?
So that felt really good.
Oh, good. That's the goal. I promise his is better than what I recorded. Yeah, so the meditations follow a progression. So this one started focusing primarily on the breath, starting in the lower abdomen, moving upward. And if you, I don't know if you could feel, but when you focus on that abdominal breath and the intention is there, the energy expands so much that it wants to go up, it wants to move. And so if you didn't feel that, it's okay. You know, everything takes practice, but maybe you did feel that already. And maybe some of you have already practiced meditations like this already. And so maybe it is easily felt, but once you start to sense how that feels, you can feel that sensation wanting to move upward. And then when it reaches the head, there's, you know, a feeling of expansiveness and oneness and not so connected to the body, but even a little bit more expansive than that. So it's important to start when you go to Tom Kenyon's site and you buy the MP3 or the CD. I just got the MP3 because I could keep it on my device. It gives you the option of downloading onto your device, which I did, and that's how I played it here, but I also downloaded it into my Dropbox account. And so that way I can listen to it on my phone. Like if, you know, if I think you can even make it offline, so that you don't have to be connected to the internet. So there are 5 meditations that he has, and they're meant to do in order. So this one is what we're going to focus on the next 2 weeks. We're just going to stay with connecting with the breath, having our attention in the abdomen as we breathe, letting that energy naturally build, letting that energy move up to the head, connecting with that feeling of the central channel and the energy moving upwards and reaching the head. And then when we meet in 2 weeks, we're going to do the next one, and it's similar, but there's some subtle differences. But then as we move along, it's going to change. So please don't skip ahead, because you could miss some things that are important to build a foundation. So we'll get there. And right now the focus is on you and you connecting with your energetic self and you connecting with your intention and being able to move it. So we're gonna build that before we add intentions for our relationships and bring that in. So I'm thinking of anything else that if it gets boring to listen to the same thing every day, let me know. I can send other things that are similar, but it might not be boring. I mean, if you did this forever, it would get boring, but they're going to change as we go along. But if you just can't stand it, let me know and I'll come up with something different for you. And I'm going to send, as soon as we finish, I'll send an email with the link to the MP3. So any other questions or observations or anything?
Just a quick question about the meditation. So is it recommended that like you sit down or you lay down? Because I have done something similar in one breathwork class and we were usually laying down. I felt like that was easier to move because I have like, maybe it's like because I have a weak core that I can't seem to like almost like adjust myself in such a way where I can feel that. But when I'm laying down, it's easier to move almost because
Yes.
you're laying down. So
Yes,
is it?
I think you
Yeah.
should do it the way it's easier for you. And
Okay.
I don't think, I think laying down or sitting down is best so that you can relax. You know, like if it feels like work to hold yourself up and you're thinking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
But some people might feel like they kind of just drift off if they lay down, you know?
Got it.
But
Yeah.
so I think it's got to be what works best for each person.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you're laying down and you're drifting off, then maybe try sitting up and supporting your back against something so
Yeah.
that you can relax and not feel like you're working to hold yourself up.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That was it.
Great.
So
Okay.
with,
Oh, go ahead.
so with the daily practice tracker, is that the meditation?
The daily practice tracker is going to be, that's the one with all the bubbles, you mean?
No,
That-
no, bubbles are the monthly check-in, but the daily tracker is like month and then it's 1 through 31.
Oh, yeah, that's just to check off, you know, like if you want to keep track of days that you practiced.
And that's practicing the meditation.
Yes, that's practicing the meditation. Yep. Yeah, because the monthly check-in will ask about how many days did you practice this month? And then you could, you know, you don't have to think about it. If you checked off the boxes, you could just count. And then if you haven't done the monthly check-in for September, do that just, you know, before you get into these meditations, you know, because hopefully you'll feel a little differently once you start doing these. So as soon as you can, do the September monthly check-in, and then and it's okay if you didn't do the daily tracker. You know, it's okay if you didn't track, you know, your experience of meaning today or your level of connectedness. I think it will be easier if you do that for moving forward, like for October, November, December, and the months moving ahead. I think it'll be easier to just bubble those in instead of going by memory. You know, our memory is not always the most accurate. And if you skip a day, you know, or a week, just do it by memory, you know, like go bubble in. But I think it's better to just get it off the mind and put it down and not have to think about it and not have to guesstimate, you know. But if you don't track it, just guesstimate, and that's okay.
Hey, Allison, I have a question.
Hey.
Hey, so on the check-in, obviously I can kind of gauge what it means like to yourself, to your partner, to your life, to the world, to higher power. But when it comes to a sense of purpose and to a sense of meaning, like, is that more about what it is or like that your purpose is there? Like, is it
That
a
it's
specific
there. Yeah,
that
your
it's
experience with
there?
it, that I feel
Okay.
like if it's a high for that day, it would be like, I feel a strong sense of purpose today, or life, you know, I feel a lot of meaning today, you know, either because something happened that felt really meaningful and it made my life feel meaningful, or, you know, some interaction, or just in general, a general feeling of that, but your personal experience with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I also have a question.
Hey.
Hey, so I did September's monthly check-in, but it was kind of weird because I felt like most of the month was pretty bad for me, but then like that one week was really, really good. So then
Yeah.
I was confused. I was like, okay, most of the month sucked, but I had a
Yeah.
week that was just like it just all snapped like into place.
Well,
So I didn't
that's
know.
a
I
good
just
point because it could vary a lot in a month. You know,
yeah.
if you have, some of you have sent me your bubble sheet, the daily tracker for the month. I would love to have copies of those. That way, when we're analyzing the data, it could be more specific, you know, like it might turn out, I've never done anything like this before. So ideally we would have been collecting data digitally daily, but it's just too much data for us to process. So we had to put it into some sort of monthly format. But if I could also have your bubble sheet, then at the end of all of it, I could use that. Maybe we'll use that to process the data more specifically. So if you have those, please send those to me too, because it'll be helpful for me to see in this situation. Most of the month was crap, but that one week was really exceptional,
Yeah.
and that mattered.
Yeah. It really did, yeah. I was in Mount Shasta too, so like I feel like that really, like I was like, okay, it all makes sense now. Like, God.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and the
Yeah,
energy of the places makes a difference too.
it really does. And I was like, oh, that's why I was having a tough, like, it makes sense now. I feel good about it now. It's fine. So
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to, I kind of put it in like the last portion, like if I had anything else to say about it. So I was like, well, technically it sucked, but like it resolved itself. So
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So your memory of it feels
All right.
different now because it's framed well
Yeah.
now. It feels
Yeah,
good,
exactly. Yeah.
which is good, which is what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I said this at the beginning, but in case some hopped in a little later, originally we planned on storing all of this on the YouTube channel, but now that I've found these recordings that Tom already did, I can't post them online because they're copyright. So I'll probably still post the one that I did for this section of the study, just so that something's there, but I highly recommend buying his. It's only $10 and it takes us through the whole progression, and you'll be able to have it on your phone and you access it whenever, because I also can't record it and share it. That's against the law too. So I wasn't expecting that little hiccup, but I am really grateful to have found these recordings, because it's all of that matters, when you're listening to something, the background music or the excess background noise that might be in the recording, all of that kind of plays into the experience. And this is, I think, really well done, and adds to our goal, and makes it easier for us to accomplish that. So there won't, I'll send it through email instead of posting it on, I'll still post this on the YouTube channel, but it's not going to include the meditation. I paused it for that part. So that's all I have. But if there's any other questions, we can do that. And if not, then we can sign off. Our next one will be in 2 weeks, October 17th. And then I didn't include dates for the next two because I'm going to be traveling. Part of my PhD requirements is to go in person in India. So those next two dates, October 31st wouldn't be good because that's Halloween. And November 14th, those two dates I'll be in India. But during that month, so the next one I posted is that we would do November 21st would be the next time we meet after October 17th. So we'll have done 2 of the meditations, so that'll give you 2 different options to listen to over that month. And so then by the time we meet again on the 21st of November, we're gonna move on to another section.
Always the same time?
Oh, say that again?
Always the same time?
Yes, at 5 p.m. Central. Yes. Yep. And I'll send emails out before, a couple days just to remind everybody that it's coming up. Okay, anything else? Well, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
I appreciate all of you. We couldn't do a study without people volunteering their time. So thanks for joining the cause.
Of course.
You all have my phone number and email, so just let me know if you have any questions or difficulties along the way. All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.